That'll be discussed.
Vancouver selects from Team Canada and Longueuil, J.J. Daigneault.
Now there is a local product, Jean-Jacques Daigneault, the defenseman who played under the coaching of Jacques Lemaire. 2 seasons ago at the Longueuil Juniors was voted that time the best defenseman in the Quebec Junior League and a first-team All-Star.
Jean-Jacques is going to put on that Vancouver Canucks sweater right now, and he has the crutches being held by Norm Jewison, the PR man, and Jean-Jacques, if you'll just turn around here, and I'll hold you up.
The Vancouver Canucks are happy to draft Jim Sandlak from the London Knights.
Vancouver selection, Jim Sandlak from London.
Jim Sandlak is the player the Vancouver Canucks coveted as they came into this draft. They want the big right winger where they're actually pretty healthy on the right side, but they have Tony Tanti they want to move to the right side. They have Cam Neely on the right side. Maybe Stan Smeel goes to the left wing. And Jim Sandlak, a big man who scored 40 goals, but maybe capable of more than that if he stays in the same position all season, becomes a Canuck.
Vancouver Canucks are pleased to use our first pick to select from the 2-time Memorial Cup champions, Medicine Hat Tigers, a proud Westerner, Trevor Linden.
He's a character kid. He's a talented boy. He's big. He's strong. He's going to give you 100% every night. He'll be the type of guy you want on the ice last minute of every game. And Vancouver made an excellent pick. He leads the kids in the room, and the way he plays so hard, he embarrasses other people into playing. So I think you'll see that Vancouver got the best player in the draft.
Vancouver Canucks would like to select and place on this player our new home sweater, a defenseman from the University of North Dakota, Jason Herter.
Voilà. Jason Herter qui devait partir 3e finalement, Matt.
Oui, Herter qui était repêché, classé 2e par le système de recrutement central. Finalement, il s'en va avec les Canucks. Pat Quinn va lui présenter le nouveau chandail que les Canucks vont porter à domicile dès la saison 1989-90. 62 minutes de punition. Un gars qui fait 6 pieds 1 pouce et 180 livres. Un défenseur offensif et défensif à la fois.
Vancouver Canucks probably select from Czechoslovakia and the Seattle Thunderbirds, Petr Nedved.
Je ne pense pas que ce soit une surprise, Pierre, vraiment, parce que Pat Quinn, au mois de mars, en parlait beaucoup. Lorsque nous avions fait un match entre les Canucks et les Red Wings à Détroit, on disait que Petr Nedved serait le joueur que les Canucks de Vancouver étaient pour sélectionner.
Et Yvon, c'est un choix populaire. Écoutez la réaction de la foule ici au BC Place.
On avait un petit peu de... On craignait un peu pour le jeu robuste, mais on a dit qu'à Seattle, il a été bousculé par la plupart des joueurs de la Ligue de l'Ouest, a toujours bien répondu. Et quand à 17 ans, Pierre, on peut montrer un dossier de 65 buts et 80 passes pour 145 points.
And Petr Nedved is a free agent.
Vancouver Canucks are proud to select from the Canadian Hockey League, Mike Wilson.
De la Ligue canadienne de hockey, Mike Wilson.
Well, they talked about adding size, and they've done that with the Sudbury Wolves. Sudbury Wolves are going to have a big day here. A lot of players to be drafted, and here's the first of them. And this guy is very, very, very big boy.
Pat Quinn, who is...
Pat Quinn qui va annoncer la sélection des Canucks, qui reçoivent une bonne main d'applaudissements.
Proudly select from Sweden, Mattias Ohlund.
Bon, ben Ohlund qui vient de partir.
Défenseur.
Marc Lachapelle. Oui, et c'est un défenseur, mais vous savez, chez les Canucks, les finalistes de la dernière Coupe Stanley, la défensive là, avec Jeff Brown et compagnie, c'est un club qui tantôt là, va être très talentueux à la ligne bleue. Ohlund est-elle définitivement le meilleur espoir chez les défenseurs, chez les Suédois cette année, qui est l'exception de confirme l'arrêt qui est Petr Forsberg. Moi, je l'ai vu jouer au championnat mondial en Suède en 93 et ce gars-là, à chaque présence sur la patinoire, il se produit de quoi. Et les Canucks ont quand même un bon noyau de joueurs. L'échange avec Saint-Louis, là, ça a été très profitable aux Canucks de Vancouver. Un talentueux, mais pas un brave.
Écoutons Pat Quinn.
Josh Holden.
Alors, Josh Holden, Marc nous avait dit en début de reportage qu'il s'attendait à le voir partir assez tôt.
Oui.
Les Canucks le choisissent à peu près au milieu du peloton, là, en 12e position.
C'est le joueur le mieux catalogué ou le mieux classé qui a le plus peut-être déçu ou qui a le plus glissé au repêchage d'aujourd'hui. Il a amassé 112 points. C'est énorme.
Et je l'ai entendu, moi, en entrevue à la radio anglaise la semaine dernière. Il a l'air d'avoir une bonne tête, comme on dit. On dit que son idole, c'est Jeremy Roenick et qu'il joue à peu près comme lui. Il va jouer blessé et va se présenter à tous les matchs. Messieurs, on va faire une pause.
Pat Quinn in the market for a new assistant general manager since his old one is now the GM of the Washington Capitals. Let's hear what Pat has to say.
Vancouver Canucks select from Spokane Chiefs of the Western Hockey League, Brad Ference.
Somebody yelled from the upper deck, Free Willy, when they saw the new Canuck logo. And that new logo with the whale on it will be worn in a moment by Brad Ference of the Spokane Chiefs. His coach, Mike Babcock, said he is a prototype, tough, stay-at-home NHL defenseman.
So that's how the draft works sometimes. Now Cleary's sitting waiting with bated breath, but for the moment, it's Brad Ference's day in the sun.
Good luck.
Select from the Canadian Hockey League, the Oshawa Generals, Bryan Allen.
Alors, Bryan Allen, donc, est choisi. C'était entre lui et Brad Stewart, chez les défenseurs, je pense, Bernard. On a vu Brian Burke, Pierre, c'est sa première annonce officielle en tant que directeur général des Canucks de Vancouver.
Quel sera le pouvoir que Brian Burke pourra enlever à son instructeur?
Moi, je voudrais pas. Ça, c'est la première question. Est-ce qu'on va se rendre au camp d'entraînement? Probablement. Est-ce qu'on va se rendre au début de la saison?
As the Canucks get set to announce the second and third picks. There are two jerseys there, so apparently he's going to make both selections now.
The Vancouver Canucks are very proud to select for Marshall Spink, Team Moto in the Swedish Elite League, Daigneault and Henrik Sedin.
Daigneault in the dark blue shirt, Henrik in the light blue. At least I think the way that is. This is the National Hockey League's version of the Parent Trap to reunite the two. Patrick and Peter Sundstrom played together. So did the Ferrero twins, and so will Daigneault and Henrik Sedin. Now we know, or at least they've said yesterday, they are going back for sure to play with Modo in the Swedish Elite League next season, maybe for the next 2 years, but now that they're together on a National Hockey League team, could that be changed?
Yeah, and it was another perhaps ploy by Michael Barnett, one of the better agents in this league and in the business. Was he perhaps saying that just to play his little card in this draft?
On behalf of our great fans in beautiful British Columbia and in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the Vancouver Canucks are pleased to select from Pittsburgh, Ohio and Ohio State University, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania and Ohio State University, R.J. Umberger.
Ben, on a dit finalement, Normand, c'est le premier héritier de l'ère Mario Lemieux à Pittsburgh.
Il aurait grandi avec le poster de Mario Lemieux dans sa chambre. Alors, Mario Lemieux avait un impact sur les jeunes joueurs de hockey dans la région de Pittsburgh. Et lui, alors, c'est ce qu'il a mentionné d'ailleurs à tous les membres de la presse là-bas. Le Canadien a fait une sélection extraordinaire.
Bon. Eh ben,
And now, on behalf of all of our fans in Manitoba and in beautiful British Columbia, we are pleased to announce our selection from Ohio State University and the CCHA, Ryan Kesler.
Second time in 3 years, that the Vancouver Canucks have gone to Ohio State University for the first-round pick. 2 years ago, they took defenseman R.J. Umberger from the Buckeyes. Now it's Ryan Kesler, a player who played for the U.S. at the World Junior Hockey Championship and played, what would you say, very solidly? He's going to be a very good player. He's a tremendous skater. He's got great defensive awareness. He's a good player for a long period of time because of his speed. He's a good-sized guy that can really skate. Well, there's still some of those available. Anthony Stewart, TSN's 21st ranked player, still available. European Glazchev, pretty good offensive player. We ranked him number 17. He still hasn't gone.
With our first selection, we're proud to select from Phillips Andover, goaltender Cory Schneider.
So there's the goaltender, Cory Schneider, but he's a long way from being a Canuck.
I talked to an NHL scout this morning just before we started the proceedings here, and he said, Pierre, discount the fact that he went to Phillips Andover, which is kind of a blue blood school in the Northeast where former President Bush went to school. This guy's a big-time scrapper. He's a hard-nosed, in-your-face kid. He's not a spoiled brat, and he's got a chance to be a pro.
And he's expected to start right away, and they've had solid goaltending the last couple years, and he's still expected to start right away. Jerry York runs a great program. This is a character guy, and he's just going to get better.
Il y a beaucoup de travail à faire. To thank our fans in Vancouver and Manitoba, and obviously looking forward to seeing everyone in GM Place next summer. With our first selection, we are proud to select from Val-d'Or, the Canadian Hockey League, Luc Bourdon.
Alors un jeune homme natif du Nouveau-Brunswick, de l'AMEC au Nouveau-Brunswick, Luc Bourdon, qui a évolué à Val-d'Or au cours des dernières saisons.
Oui, alors Luc, une très bonne sélection, un bon défenseur à caractère offensif, un gars qui l'outil serait le gardien de but numéro 1. Le dossier de Todd Bertuzzi sera réglé une fois pour toutes la semaine prochaine. Le commissaire Barry Bettman va faire connaître sa décision. Si Bertuzzi revient, on va lui donner, je crois qu'on va lui donner la permission d'amorcer la saison 2005-2006.
The Vancouver Canucks are very happy to select from the Spokane Chiefs for the Western Hockey League, Michael Grabner.
Here we go, a little bit off the board for Dave Jonas and the Vancouver Canucks. And again, that's not a criticism. Because from here on in, we are going to see some interesting picks. Now, in the TSN rankings that we did, we had him as an honorable mention for the first round, which means we did not put him in the top 30. The Hockey News ranked him number 29 in their draft preview.
With all that being said, they got to get him into a more traditional hockey market than being in Austria, Bob and Gord, because that's one of the things that's going to hinder his development. But it's all about speed for this player.
Il faut qu'il marque des buts. Il va pas marquer de buts.
Vancouver is proud to select from Tri-Cities, United States Hockey League, Patrick White.
Alors, c'est Patrick White qui était classé 23e au total, qui est le choix des Canucks de Vancouver, 25e au total, normal.
Un Américain de Grand Rapids au Minnesota, un joueur de centre qui tire de la droite, un attaquant très habile, bourré de talent, qui peut faire une différence, possède également une touche physique.
Qui va apporter de l'expérience à la brigade défensive de l'équipe. Voilà, Denis.
Oui, merci beaucoup. D'abord, d'ailleurs, il faut souligner, Alain, du côté des Flames de Calgary, on ne s'attend pas.
At this time, the Vancouver Canucks are very proud to select from the Brampton Battalion, Cody Hodson.
Bob McKenzie, you had him rated 9th in our TSN draft ranking. And he will go number 10 overall to the Vancouver Canucks. And they get a player who is highly regarded on and off the ice.
Yeah, I really like this pick because this guy is all about character and leadership. It means the most. And there's his dad, his father, Chris, who was a cabinet minister in the old Ernie Eves, Mike Harris, progressive conservative governments in provincial Ontario.
The Vancouver Canucks are proud to select from the University of Minnesota, center Jordan Schroeder.
Now, he'll be teammates with him soon. His name's Jordan Schrader, and he'll understand that. But that being said, when you think about what Gordon Bob just talked about with the Sedins and Flux and Pavel Dimitra not getting any younger, and you look at how well Ryan Kesler and Alex Burrows and Mason Raymond and Kyle Wellwood played, they're adding instant offense to their team in Vancouver. Jordan Schrader's going to go in to Vancouver playing against the Minnesota Wild. It's not going to be a whole lot of fun. I'll tell you that right now.
Tell you what,
the Minnesota Wild better hope he doesn't project as well as Bob and I think he will, because this is a steal pick for Vancouver.
And with the 29th selection, honor the memory of E.J. McGuire and select the player listed 21st on Central Scouting's list of North American skaters from the Oshawa Generals, Nicholas Jensen.
Nice of Mike Gillis has said Lawrence Gilman have to take that abuse.
Nicholas Jensen from the Oshawa Generals gets a hug from his family. His
Dad Dan grew up in Richmond Hill. This is a Danish player that has very strong Canadian roots. It doesn't go to the dirty areas, doesn't get his nose dirty, doesn't play with a lot. Questions of, is this player soft? And that's one of the reasons I think why Grabner was traded and why he was waived. And yet, he showed with the New York Islanders, he plays plenty hard enough, and you can't teach that kind of skill and that kind of speed.
It is with great pleasure that we make our selection for the 2012 NHL entry draft from the Belleville Bulls of the Ontario Hockey League, Brendan Gaunce.
Physical, big Bob, a little bit like Tom Wilson. Solid player. Played minor midget with the Markham Waxers, a real big-time program in Ontario. It's a good prospect, Bob, a real solid prospect. Big, rangy winger.
Yeah, his brother Cameron, of course, is in the Colorado Avalanche organization.
Brendan Gaunce, the Vancouver pick. Here's Craig Button with his thoughts.
You know, Brendan Gaunce, you guys were just talking about him being a really good third-line centerman, and that's exactly what he is. He's industrious, he's workmanlike, and he does have to get a little bit quicker.
And with the 9th selection, select from the London Knights of the Canadian Hockey League, Bo Horvat.
Great pick, awesome player, character personified. I know one team had him as high as number 4. If they would have been picking at 4, they would have taken Horvat at 4. They can't miss. It's a can't miss pick.
I heard over and over and over again, talking to scouts and management, Ryan O'Reilly, over and over.
I'm thrilled to death for Canuck fans because this guy's the real McCoy. He's a very good player. That being said, I wish they would have squeezed New Jersey a little bit harder to get a little bit more for Cory Schneider.
Trading goaltender Cory Schneider to the Devils for the 9th overall pick in this draft.
Vancouver selects from Medicine Hat, the Western Hockey League, Hunter Shinkaruk.
Gets a hug from his dad, Dr. Roger Shinkaruk, who was the team dentist for the Calgary Hitmen, amongst other sporting teams in Calgary. His mom, Patricia. And I'm sure it was anxious moments when the Calgary Flames were picking a chance to go to your hometown team.
Says they're roughly the same size. He thinks he can compete for a job pretty quickly. The Canucks we talked about earlier don't have very many forwards in their pipeline.
With our first selection, we select from the WHL Calgary Hitmen, Jake Virtanen.
On the mend from shoulder surgery. Doesn't anticipate that's going to be a problem. He's healing quickly. He's pure power. Speed, drives the net, big shot, ability to score goals. In his 45 goals this year, we're tied for second amongst all the elite draft eligible. So he knows how to put the puck in the net.
When we talk about Sam Bennett and one pull-up or no pull-ups at the Combine, Jake Virtanen out 4 to 6 months with the shoulder surgery. It just shows you these are young men. They need time to grow.
Vancouver select from the OHL Sault Ste. Marie, Jared McCann.
So there you have it. And McCann takes care of our TSN top 20. They're all gone. And Bob, this has gone more according to form than you might have thought. There's nobody that's been picked really outside the top 40 yet in the first round.
Again, I think that when you look at what Jared McCann is capable of doing in the game, and you start to think about a Jake Virtanen and now a Jared McCann, you heard Jim Benning say earlier, they want to change the culture. They want to change the way they play in Vancouver.
You know, he's there as well. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of choices here for Vancouver.
Jim Benning.
Vancouver select from Waterloo of the USHL, Brock Besser.
This is an emotional story. Player that, when he was overseas playing in the under-18s, got a call that one of his best friends had been in a car accident and died. His dad's battling Parkinson's. Gave his mom a hug this past winter and just said, it's so hard.
It's a wonderful story of character, and I'll go back to the words compete and character that have been the buzzwords for National Hockey League teams throughout the draft. Vancouver got one of those players here.
35 goals in 57 games.
We would also like to welcome
our fans at our draft party at Rogers Arena. With the 5th selection, Vancouver select from the London Knights, Ole Juolevi.
And a second ripple through First Niagara Center. As Matthew Tkachuk is passed over for Ole Juolevi, who has a lot going for him. In fact, Sergachev.
He's a new age NHL defender. Skates really well, tremendous first pass, can jump up in the rush. Not the biggest guy, even though he's tall. He's not. He still has a little time to fill out.
We would like to welcome all our fans at our draft party at Rogers Arena. And with our first selection, we select from Timrå, Elias Peterson.
165 pounds, 6'1", but not a lot of weight there. Played in the 2nd division in Sweden. 19 goals in 43 games. He's got that knack.
The other thing that you have to remember is that this guy went out for dinner, flew into Vancouver after the Combine, went out for dinner with the Sedins, went out for dinner with Jim Benning, really got a feel for what it was going to be like. If you're talking about mentoring a Swedish playmaking center, who would you rather have than the Sedins to do that for you?
Vancouver selects from the University of Michigan, Quinn Hughes.
But the other side of it is the August 15th problem. You draft a kid after 4 years after you draft him. It's more acute if you're drafting a kid from the USHL who's committed to go to college. 4 years after that draft pick, on August 15th, he can become an unrestricted free agent. So this is you've seen this happen with VC, you've seen it happen with Schultz. That's a small body, gentlemen. That's a small body.
Here's Jeff Merrick.
Alongside Jack Hughes' brother. Get ready to hear that name, by the way, in the next 12 months. And just a second ago, he says, are we on yet? I want to look at my brother right now as he puts on the jersey. How are you feeling about your older brother right now, Jack?
The 2019, the Vancouver Canucks draft from St. Petersburg of the KHL, Vasily Podstrofel.
Seider was a shock going to the Detroit Red Wings at 5. But Colson going to Vancouver at 10. Give us some context here, Sam. Should we be surprised at this pick?
An absolute steal in my mind. He likely wasn't going to play in the NHL next year, so you know what? Let him go back home, feel comfortable. Let's keep an eye on him developmentally, and then see what happens after year 1.
Great point about Valeri Bryan at the World Juniors. He played in 14 minutes a night.
And they're making their pick now.
The Vancouver Canucks are proud to select from Sweden, the SHL, Djurgården, Jonathan Läckerberg.
And maybe no surprise, guys, Patrick Allvin, he knows the talent out there, and you're shaking your head, Jason, because you know he probably has a very good sense of this player.
For me, this was predictable when this player kind of fell on their lap here.
We forget how young some of these prospects are, right? Like some of them are, 18 and a bit. This guy isn't 18 yet, just 17 years of age, slipping on the Vancouver Canucks sweater.
I was watching him play against men in Djurgården, and he handled himself unbelievably well in some pretty intense moments.
Vancouver Canucks are proud to select from Rögle, Swedish Junior League, Tom Willener.
This has to be an incredibly exciting moment for Tom Willener. Remember, he grew up a Canucks fan because of the Sedins, and here he is, a young Swedish man. He will be putting on that same Canucks sweater, whether it's next year or a year after that. But pretty exciting time for him.
He made the commitment to go there. When you talk about being serious as a heart attack, I told him, I said, when you get to BU, you're going to have to play BC in the same conference. That big line coming with the U.S. national team program, he just stands up at the combine, looks me in the eyes, he goes, just come watch the games.